Yvonne.
Hey, Jen. Hi, everybody. We decided to come on a little bit early. We're so excited. We can't wait. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen, and I am coming to you from my home. We're so excited. We can't wait. I'm hearing an echo, Jen. Jen, I'm hearing us twice.
I'm sorry. Okay, it's all done. Sorry.
Okay. We technical difficulties. Vicky Sokol Evans usually says mistakes are gifts. Are we cool?
Yes, we're cool. We're cool. Sorry.
So this is my assistant, Jen Willner. She is joining us from where are you today, Jen?
Edison, New Jersey.
Edison, New Jersey. You know, Jen and I have been working together for 7 wonderful years. Is that right, Jen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy. Can you believe it's 7 years?
No, I can't.
It's wild. And we were talking, we work virtually over Zoom weekly. And we've been talking for a while about me doing Facebook Live and as just one more way of reaching the community and what's going on in this workplace, which is so volatile right now. And as I was playing around with, well, what should we call this thing? And you know, at first it was going to be front of mind. That was going to be the title, front of mind, as in what's in the front of my mind and what's in the front of your mind, Jen, and what's in the front of mind of our viewers. Mm-hmm. And then decided that heads together sounded a little better, or that also resonated because, you know, I really believe 2 heads are better than 1, 7 heads are better than 1. You know, we need this collective mind because of the landscape we're in right now. You know, it's June of 2020, and in a million years, last June, none of us could have imagined what this June was like, right?
No, not at all.
It feels so surreal about what's going on. And so I thought to just talk about a few things that are in the front of my mind and things that I wish we could put our heads together about. And Jen and I would love to have a conversation here and talk with you, any of you, and read your questions and read your comments about what's happening in this workplace. Our intent is to just go for about 30 minutes from 3 to 3:30 Eastern time. I'm here in Florida and, you know, thinking, you know, Wednesdays at 3, that's a good idea. Would love feedback on that too. There's just such a lot going on that it just feels like, let us touch base and understand what's happening with people. So one of the questions that's front of my mind right now is, you know, how is this whole thing going? This Zoom communication going in offices? You know, when it all happened so suddenly in March, when we were forced to go to your office, go to your home office, build a home office, and everyone was, you know, forbidden to come back to the real office. All of a sudden we were communicating in this very odd way. And some people were, you know, skilled at it and experienced it at communicating over Zoom, and others were so not ready for that. And so I'm curious to know from you, how is that going? Is it working out? Is it causing any problems? Is communication with executives getting easier or more difficult? You know, I'd love to know what some of the special issues are around the whole working at home thing over Zoom and Teams, and, you know, it's just forced all of this technology. I don't know, Jen, you have any thoughts on that?
So, I mean, you and I have been doing this through Zoom for almost like four years now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do hear the phrase getting zoomed out. And that people are really craving the human touch and wanting to actually see people. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. The communication, I think the old-fashioned phone call that you and I loved, actually pick up a phone and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can communicate better, but I think that one of the biggest benefits is how you can read somebody's body language, and you could see what's on their mind and how they're, and sometimes it's the work environment. If sometimes that's helpful to understand how people, why they're responding the way they're responding, and things like that, if you can read into that.
Right. But it feels kind of icky for some people.
Yeah.
They live in a small place perhaps, or they have to like do a Zoom call from their bedroom, and we're not used to bringing our coworkers into our home, never mind our bedrooms, where the lighting isn't ideal. And, it wasn't easy for us at first. And I have to say, I'm really glad, we were practiced at it. We did have, some history with it. And Vicki Evans and I are doing these webinars every other week, and we get comments from our participants before we begin. And so we're continuing to read how high the anxiety is, how high the stress level is, and the discomfort about a lot of things like worried about job security, anxiety over getting sick. I mean, the headlines today about COVID, this thing is far from over, right?
Yeah.
So how's that going for everybody in terms of the anxiety and the stress, and what you're concerned about? Where's the stress coming? At B2A, I often ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most, what's your stress level? And, most psychologists would say that a stress level of 6 and above is kind of the danger zone, that, that's the level where we lose sleep and we get headaches and we have health problems, etc. So I wonder how that's going, because pre-pandemic, I can tell you, and we see the emails all the time, right, Jen, about, there was quite a lot of anxiety before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the places that was coming from had a lot to do with the wage gap, the money, economic issues, that the anxiety was coming from lack of accurate job descriptions and problems with titles, and certainly problems with money, with proper compensation. I mean, you can't make some of this stuff up. I heard just the other day about a job posting in the state of Oregon. And no, I take that back. California. And it was a government agency. And the new job that was being posted supposedly was a terrific job, but that the job description that they were using right now in 2020 was circa the year 2000. Like, hey, welcome to our little Facebook Live here. Kasha, nice to see you. Kasia, I'm not sure how I pronounce your name. I certainly hope I'm pronouncing one of the ways right. We're talking about obsolete job descriptions and titles that don't match and salaries that are not right. I spoke with a high-level EA who's telling me that the job description was 20 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world does it say? I know it didn't say a typewriter, but I mean, who's asleep at the wheel here? how could we possibly be having 20-year-old job descriptions? It's just not okay. Pre-pandemic, we were also talking about bullying and sexual harassment. Boy, oh boy, it's been like a snowball from the Weinstein case of 2017, where this whole issue of bullying and sexual harassment is finally out of the closet, and we're finally talking about it openly. And I'm delighted about that. I hear from assistants all the time because of the work we do with workplace bullying and sexual harassment. And there's a tab on my website about bullying. Mm-hmm. It's a huge problem. It still is. It doesn't matter that there's a pandemic. Well, bullying is still, a really hot topic. So, Kasia, I'd certainly be open to hearing what's causing you any issues these days at work, and is there anything particular causing anxiety? And I was wondering how things are going over Zoom, and are you still working from home, or have you gone back? What city are you in? Mm-hmm. The purpose of putting our heads together is let's see what kind of solutions that we can come up with together, heads together. What do we have?
Benita.
Right. Oh, Benita. This is so crazy. 15 years? You bet it's overdue for updating. And, I'm working on my new book, and I've been talking with HR experts because according to them, HR departments in many companies is broken. It's just broken. And pre-pandemic, we had issues about job descriptions and compensation and titles. Now, with the pandemic and people working from home, you've got to know that job descriptions are so different now. Mm-hmm. So, Benita, now would be a great time to revamp your own job description. And what the heck, you might even, pitch a new title and do some research on compensation, because if that isn't right either, not that, now's probably not the best time to ask for raises, but it certainly is the time to plant the seed for when things kind of settle down and stabilize, about how to do this better. So welcome. So everybody, so what do we have, Jen?
Kasia says Kasia is in Versailles in France.
Oh, Versailles.
And it looks like they're back in their offices.
Oh, okay.
Whereas, okay. All right. So maybe I might be reading this backwards. Lockdown confirmed it is possible to work at home. So maybe you're able to do both, Kasia, work maybe in an office with a certain amount of people, maybe.
Yeah, I've been hearing from France that things have, the virus is still very much alive in France, and, people are still working from home. I mean, this thing is not going away anytime soon. So, hopefully everybody on this chat right now is healthy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're going back to your office after Labor Day.
Okay.
Some companies that are going back not until 2021. And some companies are not going back like ever.
Yeah. I heard that. I heard in Israel, particularly, I understand that they were welcoming, but it was much smaller amounts of people in their offices.
Yeah.
And to whose comment? Somebody responded, Sissy, I'm sorry. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. One of the things I worry about is feeling too comfortable, but my boss says we're working better than ever this way. There's so many less distractions.
Isn't that so interesting? Yeah.
Different distractions, let's say.
Different perception. I think assistants have gotten really used to being uncomfortable, at the office and being interrupted every 2 seconds. And it kind of feels like a little guilty pleasure being at home. But it's not for everybody. And everyone who's on the chat right now, please meet Jen Willner. Jen Willner is my assistant of 7 years. She's in New Jersey, where I used to live, and I'm here in Florida. Just so happy to see you all with us. And I'm wondering where the stress is coming from and what your, hi, Tom Reedy. Hey. Tom and I are founding members of New York Celebrity Assistants, which is the organization we both co-founded, 8 of us in New York City. Oh my gosh, Tom, the years, it's so crazy, 22 years. Isn't time flying? Time is just so
flying. Tell me about flying, yeah.
And, we've got this virus going on. We have so much turmoil in the world. I think it bears saying that time is flying and that we need to be mindful of what's going on right now and be grateful for what we got. What we look like we have some interesting comments on here.
Yeah. So Beth is saying she works for a manufacturing company in Frederick, Maryland, still working from home, and we may not return until there's a vaccine. Thankful that the factory workers who still go in. My boss said the same thing for those who work from home are more productive. Yep.
We just need a big dose of gratitude for those folks who are going in. This is such a new ball game. I was talking to a couple of assistants from Campbell Soup Company in Camden, New Jersey, and it was so interesting about their decision-making process about when they're going to go back into their offices. And one of the criteria had to do with the capacity of the local hospital. They wanted to make sure that over a certain period of time that there was vacancy at the local hospital, because in case there were sick people who needed to be attended to, they wanted to make sure that they could actually get into the hospital.
Right.
I thought that was interesting. That was an interesting perspective. So let's see,
Kasha saying no proper jobs in the UK. Very sad situation. We'll tell you, there's a lot of virtual assistant jobs. So if you are an executive assistant and you want to, and you have this now that so many people are learning to do this work at home, there is a lot of work out there as consider yourself a virtual executive assistant. So Kasha, look into it, reach out to me if you'd like to.
So Jen in the chat, why don't you include your website? Sure. Jen has her own virtual assistant company. I'm not her only client, but I'm your favorite one, right, Jen?
Yes, my VIP, that is for sure.
It's lovely to see all of you here on the chat. Today, this is my third public thing today. I've done 2 webinars today already, both on the same subject, not initiated by me, about workplace bullying. It shouldn't shock me anymore. I mean, I know that bullying is a huge problem. It was a huge problem prior to the pandemic, and it still is, apparently. One this morning was a group out of Houston, but the group was international. So interesting. There's a story that I posted on LinkedIn today that's kind of rocking the world of Houston right now. Because Houston, of course, is very much about oil and gas. And there's a huge story out of Houston, and you can Google this. There is a $100 million lawsuit being brought, a class action suit initiated by one woman. She worked on an oil rig, and she lasted on that oil rig for 1 year. And she was sexually harassed, she was bullied, and she was even raped. And I can't believe she lasted a year. They actually made her sleep in the same room as the men. Like, how do you hire somebody for that gig? I mean, clearly it's a very male-dominated profession, But how do you hire somebody and not have different quarters? Like, it's crazy, but $100 million. So there certainly is a lot going on in this space of sexual harassment and bullying. Oh, yes. Yes, please connect with both Jen and me. Jen Willner's company is what, Jen?
I'm Secretary Central on all social media, and the website is in the comments, secretarycentral.net.
Yeah.
And very happy to be working with Bonnie these past 7 years on lots of things, mostly social media, but lots of stuff, right?
So there are some questions in the chat about what kind of jobs are available for VAs and about how much money are they paying?
So it really varies as a VA. It really varies as far as what your skill set is. So if you have maybe graphic design experience, so depending on what industry you're in right now, I mean, calendaring, setting up events, taking those in-person events into online events. There are VAs, obviously you're sole proprietor. There's lots of great training. There's lots of great free training, I will add. I know some of the best virtual assistant trainers internationally. And some of them that work, I mean, you can make $50,000, you can make $100,000 as a virtual assistant. It really depends on how determined you are to work within your skill set and how determined you are to learn. You really have to. I mean, we've done a lot of learning together.
Yeah. Well, Jen, you help maintain my website. You maintain my database, but that means you need to know WordPress. You need with the database, with the website. You need to know Constant Contact with email marketing. So, and thank goodness you love LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and. Right. Because of course they change the platforms constantly. What are the skills that the skills that pay the most as a VA or what?
So website maintenance, website support pays pretty well. Obviously, I'm going to say because that's always changing. And it's not really knowing code, but knowing if you really know WordPress. Social media management. There's so many courses. There's so many people to pay attention to. And and to Kasha, what you're saying with how women, like we have the time, we have this power to take what's happening and turn it around for ourselves. So, I mean, that was really important for me. I didn't want to go and work in a corporation. I mean, I wanted to be home. My daughter was little. So with a 3-year-old, I wanted to be home. So,
but the person in the chat who said about the job situation in the UK is not wrong about that. I've been in touch with Lucy Chamberlain of CNC Search and Savan Joss of Joss Search, and they are confirming that the situation is tough. And therefore, we need to pivot, right? And use those amazing skills that you have, perhaps as a VA. One of my strong instinct is that we have to do this, that chats like this are an opportunity to collaborate and to share information about where the jobs are. So Jen, on your website, do you have those free resources, free and paid resources, or people should just email you?
They can just reach out to me if they want to reach out to me privately. Yeah.
I know that the trainer Rhonda Scarf, SCHARF, Rhonda has a class on how to have a VA training business. And she's terrific. She's based in Canada. She's been a long time speaker and trainer and friend. And I know, I don't mention names unless I know their work personally. The other comment that came up, because I was just talking about bullying, is about how women in the Middle East are considered second-class citizens. Indeed, they are. In Dubai with Lucy Brazier at Executive Secretary Live. And wow, I really got an earful and an eyeful there. The world's women have some challenges ahead. And in part, it has to do with that mentality of being third-class citizens. It felt like it's going to be a pretty steep mountain to climb in the Middle East. I'm certainly not going to sugarcoat that issue to think like, oh, this can be fixed in a heartbeat. It can't. But what was evident over there is it's not only women, but it's women of color have it worst of all in the Middle East. And the bullying issue, which I've spent on talking about all day today, is a global epidemic, and that these 2 sessions I did were called breaking the silence about workplace bullying. And what's clear is that we have to speak up to what we see and hear in this workplace in order to make it better. In the Middle East, maybe it's not going to be fixed 100%, but maybe by speaking up about certain things, that the situation could become incrementally better. It certainly sounds better than staying quiet and just being satisfied with the status quo. That isn't okay with me.
Yeah.
Jen, do we have any interesting questions?
So are we our last? I don't have any questions yet, but
yeah,
not yet. And to what you were saying, also, it's the cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, it doesn't just happen with our kids and with their peers and social media, but the cyberbullying within companies. So that's a real thing. And that.
Do you happen to have an example?
So I do know of somebody, a VA, who is actually being cyberbullied by a client. And granted, she could have just easily fired the client, but she reached out to the community and said, I'm feeling this horrendous pressure and, like you say, on demand and things like that. But she was feeling that she was on demand.
Oh.
So we kind of all, came back and asked, like, what's your contract say? And, do you need to talk to us? Because sometimes it ended up that she was feeling and calling it cyberbullying. And sometimes it's also, and I'm not diluting it in any way, but understanding when you have a contract and what your contract and the language to say, right, when can you call me, off hours and things like that. And so we rallied behind her pretty quickly, and she got to talk to some people. And
does she still have the client?
No, but so she was a new VA, so she fired the client.
Doesn't this speak to the issue that so many times assistants accept positions without a written job description? So part of the issue with VAs is we must get this stuff in writing. There has to be a contract, because otherwise there's no place to go with the negotiation. But it makes me nuts when our BTUA students say that they didn't get a written job description, that the executive was too busy, and the executive just said, oh, whatever comes along. And like, no, when assistants are interviewed, if you don't get a written job description, the thing to do is to create your own based on the interview that you had. At BTUA, we talk a lot about how assistants need to be the CEO of You Incorporated. Be the CEO of you. We need to treat ourselves as a business, and this is your livelihood. This is your career. So my plan with this Facebook Live, and we're live on YouTube, is to just put our heads together and talk about the burning issues of today. And my goodness, the world is filled with burning issues about managing over Zoom and how are things going with your executive. I want to just share with those of you still with us that In August, Vicki Sokolevins and I are going to be launching the Be the Ultimate Assistant on-demand course. And we're super excited about that. We've loved for the last 9 years. And you've been, how many times, Jen, have you been to B2A Live? Like at least
B2A. Wow. I don't think I can count them on my two hands.
You've been over 7 years. You've been a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Certainly every time we're in New York City.
Absolutely.
But what we came to know is, certainly in light of the pandemic, is that we may be forced to work at home, but assistants still need quality training of the highest, to work at the highest levels. And so we set out to do that. So in August, we will be launching this class, and it's going to be as close to the live experience as we can muster. And there will be access to Vicki and me, because I do the soft skills of leadership and communication and organization. And Vicki is the best technology guru I know. So hello, Maureen from Houston, Texas. Yeah. Thanks, Jen, for posting my emailing list. If you're interested in learning more about the on-demand class or any of the things we're doing about bullying, and I'm writing articles constantly and posting. So the plan is that, let me finish that thought, that I hope you'll go to that link and sign up for the emailing list. Our plan is that every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be here. And I hope you'll tell friends and come and ask your questions. And and let's put our heads together so that we can fix what's broken in this workplace. It's blowing my mind as I do this research on the book, and I'm talking to HR experts, and they say HR is broken. And then I talk to some professors at business schools, and they say the curriculum at business schools are broken. And so I'm beginning to think, oh my gosh, then, one of the places that actually is functioning is the administrative staff. It's you. I really believe that the assistants of the world are really sitting in a very unique and powerful and influential seat in order to affect change about the things that need to change. So if you're sitting with a job description that's obsolete, like the woman I was talking to the other day who has a company, an organization where the job descriptions are 20 years old, no. Let's figure this out. Let's fix it now. So, what do you think?
Bon, we have something coming up July 2nd.
What a great assistant. Vicki Evans and I have been doing this 4-part webinar series. The first person was Melba Duncan as our guest. Then we had Libby Moore, who used to work with Oprah Winfrey. And Vicki Evans will be teaching technology on Thursday, July 2nd, a week from tomorrow. She's going to be sharing her top tips about working from home and what are some real life things that are going to help you make your work life so much easier technology-wise. And Jen, can you post that? That link is on my website, but
I will put it in the comments also.
Yeah. So if you buy the 4-part series, which is $99, everybody gets the replays from Melba, who was brilliant, and Libby Moore, who also was brilliant. So we love the fact that anybody registering is getting those replays, and you can listen again and again and again. They've really made a difference. And that's the goal here. It's, we need to pay our bills, but more than that, it's about providing value for the community that actually matters. So with that, what are some resources for rewriting my job description?
Bianca.
Okay, let me just finish answering that question. To take your current job description and simply begin to write down everything you do, this is your business case, and essentially, your job description could actually end up being 4 or 5 pages. By the time I was done with Olympia Dukakis after 25 years, my job description was probably 7 pages. But everything you do, because the news is job description equals money. Job description equals money. So it's no longer being shy about or hesitant about saying all the things you do, quantifiable things that you save money, that you organize events. And, this could be pre-pandemic and what you've been doing now, but update it to the reality of what you do. It's really just putting your mind to, in categories, what is it? What are the functions that you do for your executives, for your team? What classes you're taking, et cetera, to increase your value. Hello, Bianca. Thank you for being with me. I'm kind of talked out today. It's been a busy day. My mind is blown about all of this, the bullying stuff, and there's a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in this workplace, which is why I want to do this. And Jen is going to help me.
That's
so
right.
I'm wishing you all a great rest of the day, and we'll join Jen and me next Wednesday, 3:00. Right, Jen?
Yep.
This thing?
We'll be here.
And in the meantime, sign up for my emailing list. Email me, Bonnie@BonnieLow-Kramen.com. Jen wants to help you be a VA. I want to help you find new work. And mainly, I want you to stay safe, stay healthy, and keep speaking up about the things that matter in your work and in your life. Because as Olympia Dukakis used to say, this is not a rehearsal. So with that, I bid you a good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thanks,
Right.
Jen.
Take care, guys. See you next week.
Okay. See ya.